You never cared about me, man.
After Viva La Bam star Bam Margera would find himself in and out of rehab upon the conclusion of the series in mid-2000s.
What will he do next?
Whatever the I want.
After Viva La Bam's cast and crew would have to deal with the fallout of the death of one of their main cast members, Ryan Dunn.
He's like one of our, he's, you know, our extra kid.
Viva La Bam was an American reality television series that starred Bam Margera and his host of friends and family. After its premiere in October of 2003, it was immediately positioned by MTV as a spiritual successor and heir apparent to Jackass.
I just know that they have some serious hell coming their way. Dude, they're dead.
Unlike with Jackass, the episodes of Viva La Bam tend to have a more specific theme, mission, or challenge that will be explored throughout the length of each episode. The show wasn't quite the cultural phenomenon that Jackass proved to be, but it had a dedicated fan base all around the world and was popular enough to last 5 seasons, which is 3 seasons longer than Jackass ever made it. But after the show went off the air in August of 2005, the fans of this series were left without their daily fix of stars like Ryan Dunn, not to mention Bam, his father Phil, his mother April, and his unforgettable uncle Don Vito.
See that tent over there? The empty one?
Yeah.
That's yours.
What, the one way in the back, the little baby one?
Yeah.
Go sleep in that thing.
You are.
So now that it's been over 15 years since we last checked in with a lot of these individuals, how about we find out what they've been up to? What's poppin', guys? Your boy Marlon Palmer back at it again with a brand new video. This one taking a look at the cast of Viva La Bam and trying to figure out where are they now. We recently took a gander at the dark side of fame of the boys of Jackass, and you guys loved that video so much that we wanted to bring you even more. So if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to check out that one as well, and follow me on Instagram at ThatDudeMcFly. Let me know what you guys would like to see, and let's get into the story. Let's kick things off with the Margera family and take a look at Bam's dad, Phil. Phil has been involved in his son's pranks since the early days of CKY and made some fan favorite appearances in Jackass over the years as well. Researching this photo, we actually found an old throwback pic of Phil from his wife April with the caption that reads, "Phil at 13, before everyone fed him." Prior to his career in television, Phil actually used to work as a baker before he found himself in bit parts leading up to his star-turning role in Viva La Bam in the mid-2000s. On TV, Phil often came across as kind, gentle, and easygoing, even when his son was absolutely beating his ass. After Viva La Bam came to an end, Phil will go on to appear in the VH1 reality show Celebrity Fit, joining the series that he could lose weight to extend his life and spend more time with his grandchildren. At the outset of the series, Phil weighed 353 pounds. But by the time it was over, Phil lost the most weight out of anyone else, 41 pounds total, which brought him down to a more manageable 312 pounds. These days, Phil is enjoying his days as a grandfather and posts up a few pics on the gram of him and his family to his 1,200 followers. All in all, not a bad glow up for a man that had to put up with so much from his son over the years. Next up is Bam's mom and Phil's wife, April Margera.
You are by far the most awesome mom I've ever seen in my life. I just wonder how you deal with all the insanity and keep such a cool head.
April popped up from time to time on CKY and Jackass as well, but much like her husband, she became a regular on Viva La Bam, where her son would take to tormenting her in moments like this.
What the hell is going on in here?
Pirate theme!
Are you kidding me?
Yes!
After the series came to an end, April would write her very own cookbook that was published in 2006 titled April Cooks There's an Alligator in My Kitchen. Now I know what you're probably thinking. What the hell is up with that title? Well, this.
Is this thing real? This alligator!
Yeah, if you think your kids are bad, try raising Bam. You never know what was gonna happen next. A few years later, April would open up a store in Thornton, Pennsylvania alongside her mother and daughter-in-law that sells refurbished furniture as well as homemade accessories called the Rose Hip Barn. Since then, she's also been a crucial member of her son's support system in his battle to get sober, but we'll circle back to that in a few moments. Other popular members of the series and friends of Bam's included Brandon DiCamillo, Rake, Yohn, and Raab himself. For Raab, we recently touched upon his very serious addiction to painkillers and multiple surgeries, so let's take a look. Raab says that while he played at a heightened version of himself on the series, the role between his real self and the maniac he pretended to be on television began to blur. Eventually, Chris recognized that his only chance at survival was to leave the group altogether. Chris would exit after the first feature film and not return for any of the sequels. He says that after he began to spiral even further, taking more drugs and drinking more alcohol all alone in his condo because he didn't want to be around anyone. he eventually began to contemplate suicide. This was largely because it was hard for him to readjust to normal life after the years he spent with Jackass. He blew all of his Jackass money almost as soon as he first got it, and by the time he was older, he had to work as a waiter at a restaurant to make a living. When patrons would recognize him and ask what the hell he was doing serving them food, it was extremely embarrassing for him. These days, Raab is doing much better, working as a consultant on films, and he stayed sober for close to 10 years. Rake, Yohn, who joined BAM from back in the CKY days, and you know as the guy who hates mustard, well, today he still hates it, and he has it in his bio on Twitter, which reads scientist, happy husband, computer nerd. Brandon, another founding member of the CKY crew, is probably one of the most low-key and off-the-radar members of the Jackass crew. The party lifestyle was apparently not for him, and he longed for a more normal life. He's believed to have a wife and kids living in Pennsylvania. He's popped up here and there on a podcast and over on Twitter. He still enjoys classic toys, which makes this classic CKY clip make that much more sense. Michael McCrudden has that video memorized and sings it in the office. I wish I was joking. Moving on to the final Margera family member that isn't BAM himself, let's take a look at Uncle Vincent Margera. Vincent popped up from time to time in CKY and Jackass, but he would become the breakout star of Viva La Bama, where he was commonly referred to as Don Vito thanks to his unintelligible speech that made him sound like the Godfather's Don Vito Corleone.
Get away from the trailer! Damn, what do you have? Rains, it's gonna be leaking in here now.
After the series came to an end, Vito was primed and ready to make it big in a co-starring role in Jackass #2, but some extremely troubling legal issues would crop up and take him out of that film altogether. He was further ordered to never portray his character again in any type of setting while serving his sentence. Years later, but before his sentence would come to an end, Vincent collapsed in his Westchester home and was rushed to the hospital. As someone who had suffered from obesity most of his life, not to mention alcoholism, he wasn't able to overcome his illness and died from massive organ failure after slipping into a coma on November 15, 2015. From one tragic ending to another, let's take a look at the fate of Viva La Bama cast member and BAM's best friend, Ryan Dunn.
What you want to do with a little Dunn? No. You sure? Yeah.
As a huge participant in both CKY and Jackass, it was never a question of whether or not Ryan would be a part of BAM's new series. Simply put, these two were as close as brothers.
I met Ryan when I was 12 years old. He came from Cleveland, Ohio. We just kind of hit it off right away.
Which makes what happened to Ryan after the series went off the air all the more tragic. By 2010, Ryan was on the precipice of becoming as big a star as his best friend. Jackass 3D was on its way and he had starred in a number of small independent films, like one called Living Will, in which he played a ghost that haunted his still living best friend. Sadly, it would only be weeks after that trailer dropped that life would begin to reflect art. After Ryan and a good friend of his named Zachary Hartwell spent the night drinking at a pub in Westchester, Pennsylvania, Ryan made the extremely poor decision to drive them both home. While driving down a stretch of rural highway, Ryan's Porsche jumped a guardrail, flew into a wooded ravine, struck a tree, and burst into flames. Ryan and Zachary died from the impact of the crash and the resulting fire. In the 13 years prior to the accident, Ryan had amassed at least 23 driving citations, including 10 for speeding and careless driving. He was also arrested in 2005 for a DUI. His charges were eventually dropped after he completed a probationary program, but his license was suspended for more than a year. According to a future press release put out by the West Goshen Police Department, the county coroner would discover that Ryan had a blood alcohol concentration of 0.196. more than twice the legal limit in Pennsylvania. But beyond that, no other drugs were detected in his system. Bam had been in Arizona at the time of the accident and received what he described as the worst phone call I've ever gotten in my life, to let him know what had happened. Strangely enough, he had had a premonition of the accident only moments prior.
At 12:30, I just started punching out the windows of the rental van and ripping out the speakers, and I don't even know why. I wasn't mad at anything or anybody, and if it's 12:30 there, that means that it was exactly when he crashed.
Needless to say, after having to live through the fallout of this event, Bam was left devastated, and his life changed for the worst. He took to drinking more, and no longer just for fun. He simply wanted to forget about the immense pain he was put in. By 2015, he was entering rehab, but would leave without ever finishing the program. Instead, he decided to appear on Family Therapy with Dr. Jenna on VH1, where he opened up alongside his mother, who was there to provide her support.
Stuff doesn't make me happy. I don't know. Not like I was going to do it or anything, but I was like, just send me in that pool and make sure I don't come back up.
For a little bit, things were better. Bam cleaned up and took a family trip to Europe to get his head straight. He was clean for months, but then he began to drink once more while still in Europe. By 2018, with his first child on the way, Bam checked into rehab for a third time, looking to get clean. This time though, it was state mandated as Bam had been arrested for a DUI in LA and was required to actually complete the program for the first time. In the end, it wouldn't really matter all that much, because by 2019, he was returning to rehab for a fourth time. This time after relapsing due to a scary holdup that took place while he was visiting Colombia. But regardless of the reasons, it was never enough to make him stay, because he would once again check out early. Soon after that came yet another state-mandated week in a mental health facility after he was kicked off an airplane in Atlanta for being too drunk. This guy has had a rough go of it. God damn. Desperate for help, Bam turned to Dr. Phil, who had him as a guest on his show and offered him the best advice he could.
That you were so overwhelmed.
Yes.
That you were prepared if your life ended, fine.
Yeah.
Much like with every other time in his life, this helped for a while until it didn't anymore. These days, Bam is deep in the throes of a new feud with his fellow Jackass cast members after he broke his contractual stipulations that would have seen him become a part of the upcoming Jackass 4. Upset and hurt by being left out, Bam posted a ton of videos to his social media expressing thoughts like this.
I wrote them so many ideas, and if I'm not in the movie and they use my ideas, how do you think that that'll make me feel? The last thing I want to do is be in a courtroom.
It's been reported that his friends are once more trying to get him help to get sober, but whether or not something like that will ever truly happen for Bam Margera, only time will tell. As for the rest of the story, well, that's for another video. After all, this is Where Are They Now? And you're all caught up with the recent history of the primary cast members of Viva La Bama. What did you guys think? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to follow our series on Instagram @BeforeThey're Famous to vote on what you'd like to see next. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.